are actively fighting a fire on the 14th and 15th floor. I'm joined now by the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Mayor Herman Mashaba. Thanks for speaking to us here on The Full View.
Thank you very so much for giving us this opportunity on a very sad day in our city. As you're aware, we've lost 3 of our firefighters yesterday afternoon. However, we're pleased now that from our EMS, the fire officials, the fire is now put out. Now it's just a question of ensuring that the fire does not reignite, so that tomorrow morning we can get the forensic team to come in to assess and see what happened and how this fire started. Also, at the same time, we are bringing the structural engineers to come and obviously assess the credibility of this building. So we're quite really pleased with the effort some of our team members have put. Some of them have not really slept for the last 24 hours.
Mr. Mashaba, the concern around unsafe buildings in the Johannesburg CBD is not a new one. You yourself have lamented this fact. But let's just get some statistics on the table. How many buildings, as we speak right now, in the Joburg CBD are currently unsafe?
Well, as the City of Johannesburg, as you're aware, I've been making pronouncements starting from the 1st of December 2016, when I expressed my concern with the safety of some of our buildings. We've identified plus minus 500 buildings in the City of Johannesburg where something has to really be done. Us as a city, I then made a commitment that we have to really carry out raids to ensure that we take back this city. Where we cannot find the owners, we must expropriate these buildings. Where we can find them, we will put them on terms to ensure that they renovate these buildings so that they can really meet our safety and health standards. So we are busy on the journey. As you are aware, a few weeks ago, I launched 71 buildings, which we, us as the City of Johannesburg, have been acquiring over the last few years, asking the private sector to work with us as the City of Johannesburg to build turn these buildings into affordable accommodation for our people, student accommodation, commercial spaces. Because as government, we don't have the money, including us as a city and the national government. So we need the private sector to come and invest in our city. But we want to ensure that there's a rule of law. It cannot really be a jungle where this particular building that people have been complaining about health and safety measures for some time. So you can imagine if it happens with the government-owned building. What about hundreds of buildings in the inner city that are hijacked, where you see children being brought up under totally unacceptable living conditions?
And as we speak right now, Mr. Mashaba, unfortunately, it is once again reactionary because the building has caught fire. 3 people have lost their lives. 2 firefighters are still in critical condition in hospital. So the question then becomes, whose responsibility is it to ensure the safety of these buildings?
Well, it's actually absolutely not true that it's reactionary. On the 1st of December 2016, when we took over, we're a new government, we took over this government just over 2 years ago. On the 1st of December 2016, I expressed my concern, and you remember I was then called names when I was expressing my concern about the safety of our people. Last week, Friday, I'm sure you're aware, we invited to SABC and other media houses where the MMC of development planning, we started actually demolishing buildings that are not compliant with our bylaws. And I made it really abundantly clear, unapologetic, that we will continue, we will actually expedite making sure that we bring back the rule of law in the City of Johannesburg.
3 people have died. Who should be responsible for that? Who should be held responsible?
Well, absolutely. The owners of these buildings must take their responsibility. Because if you look at so many buildings in the City of Johannesburg over the last, 10, 15 years, where there was a total breakdown of the rule of law. So I think people, the owners of these buildings must take direct and personal responsibility for these tragedies.
As the City of Johannesburg, what is your responsibility in terms of ensuring that the buildings are safe and they are fit for human habitation or even for people to work in.
That is why on a daily basis we carry out these raids. That is why on a daily basis we take over buildings. I've got prospectus here of 71 buildings which we've taken back as a city because of non-compliance. We're offering them to the private sector to say, please build affordable accommodation, proper accommodation for our people. We are demolishing buildings that do not really comply. So we're not really sitting back. We are proactive in the situation.
So just to give us a sense of what your responsibility is as the city, what do you have to do in terms of inspection, that sort of thing? What is your responsibility as the city?
It is our responsibility. That is why we raid in these buildings, and those that do not comply, we demolish them. Where we can take them from these owners, we do that.
Who conducts the safety inspections?
The development planning, and we have under group forensic and investigation services. We've got a unit that actually raid these buildings where we get arrested, where we take back these buildings from them, and where we can find the owners, we put them on terms to ensure that they can comply. As I said, just last Friday we demolished buildings, and I'm sure you're aware. I made it clear. This is just really the beginning. Those buildings that do not comply and people are put on terms, we will expropriate these buildings. Some of them we will demolish them.
What about this particular building, the Bank of Lisbon building? Was this one on your radar?
No, this one belongs to the provincial government. It used to belong in the past, I believe, to the Lisbon Bank, but at the moment the building is owned by the provincial government.
And with regard to the students, and they've been evacuated from the building adjacent to the one that's on fire, do you know what the plan is with regard to relocating these students?
Yes, I think that arrangement has been made by the owner and the provincial government to find them temporary accommodation because they were concerned about the smoke inhalation. So tomorrow morning, that's when we will then send our air inspectors to ensure that the place is habitable so that they can come back. Those arrangements have been made by the owner of the building where they reside and the provincial government.
So where to from here now as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg?
I'm calling on the residents of the city of Johannesburg to support the initiative that we've taken in ensuring that we bring back the rule of law. But what is more important for me, it's to get our national government to work with us in ensuring that when we arrest these people, when we take matters to the courts, there must be consequences. Because as a city, constitutionally, we are limited in terms of what we can do. We don't have the prosecutorial responsibility, we don't have prisons. So that it becomes the responsibility of national government. So we appeal to national government to work with us that when we take cases to them, please, it cannot be that someone gets arrested and the following day someone is back out in the streets.
Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Herman Mashaba, thanks so much for speaking to us here on The Full View. Well, it is a hive of activity here around the Bank of Lisbon building, and we have firefighters, and they're out of your shot at the moment, but they are sitting there, some of them actually are just trying to catch their breath because they have to actually take 12 flights of stairs to get to the part where they are fighting this fire actively. And currently 4 teams of 34 men and women currently actively fighting this fire in this building. Well, we're going to hand you back to the studio now, but we will be back later on with the PSA and Nahau to get their views on this tragedy that's playing out.
Our belongings are there. Everything that belongs to us is there. Our life is there. See, so we are concerned.
They didn't even tell us like a detailed thing, but they only told us that they're doing this for safety measures. They're taking us there for tonight, and it might happen that if they find that our building is declared safe, we will come back before 10 p.m. But if it is found that it is actually not safe to be in it, they're actually going to let us sleep there. Apparently the environment there, of which they say it's not a conducive environment for us to study, as we've got some tests coming up tomorrow. I've got a test which I was supposed to be writing tomorrow, but now I cannot write that test because I'm not well prepared. This whole thing was traumatizing me. I couldn't even study after seeing the whole incident.